What's going on, YouTube? It's the big homie, the armchair operator, and today we're going to take a look at kind of a gun that's kind of a new take on a well-established gun. We're actually going to take a look at the Smith Wesson M&P 2.0, but not just any 2.0. No, we're going to talk about the M&P 2.0 metal frame. Now, this gun has been out for about a year now. I think it came out in August of 2022, and there's been a ton of reviews on this gun already. If you're, if you're watching my video, I'm sure you're familiar with YouTuber, gun tubers, so on and so forth, reviewing videos, and so I'm sure you're aware of that. So there's been a ton of reviews on this gun already. So even so, my goal here is to bring you some value. Maybe you're still thinking about getting an M&P 2.0 metal frame. Maybe you have the polymer version, and maybe you're just a little more curious as to what's different between the polymer version and the metal version. Or maybe you just want some entertainment. I don't know. But my point is, I want to bring you guys some value. So that's the kind of point of these videos that I'm doing here, is to bring you some value. So that is my hope that I'm able to do that. All right, so now that I've laid all that out, let's dive into this review. So Smith & Wesson decided to take their venerable and well-established M&P 2.0 line of polymer pistols to the next level with this all-metal iteration. And in addition to releasing an all-metal version, they also decided to redesign the trigger for the M&P 2.0 series, which is actually somewhat similar to that of the Shield Plus. And you know what? Let's open this guy out. So you see it comes in this nice box, a la Smith & Wesson's, which you're familiar with. But we're not here to look at the box. We're here to look at this beautiful piece of engineering right here. So this is the metal version of the Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0. First things first, as always, the firearm is clear. The magazine is empty, albeit a little bit dirty, but the gun is safe. All right, so obviously, like I said, right off the hop, it's metal gun, whereas the standard M&P 2.0 is polymer. This much we know. So we know just that right there is the first difference. And at the time of its release, a lot of people wonder what this new version would bring to the table, right? And that's a very understandable question to ask, especially when you're talking about a gun that's roughly $900 MSRP, which is roughly $300 more than the polymer version. So the short answer to that, obviously what you're getting, other than a gun with an aluminum frame, you're getting a slightly different grip. So let's take a look at the grip panels here. So on its face, it looks very similar to that of the polymer frame version, but actually it is a little bit different. Now, as you can see, because of the metal frame here, you actually have two polymer sections here. You got the front of the grip, which is also polymer, and you have this piece here, the removable portion, which is the back strap. So speaking of, this gun comes with 3 interchangeable back straps. This is the large one here, and here are the other 2. You have the small one without the beaver tail, and then you have the medium one with the beaver tail. I think this is the one that's installed on the gun from the factory. I honestly, I don't remember. I've had this gun for a while. Suffice it to say, the large one is on the gun right now to accommodate my great big old monkey hands. Anywho, moving on from the grip. So I wish I had a polymer M&P 2.0 metal frame, but I'm going to include a picture here just so that way you could get a visual representation of how different the two look. And it's going to be kind of difficult to convey on camera, but I'm going to try to explain as best I can. So now on this particular grip here, you see this division here. There's a little raised section right here on the metal frame as it meets the grip panel here. So this section, while it's still there on the polymer version, it's not raised like it is on the metal version. So it's just a slightly different feel in the hand, you know. So I just wanted to put that out there. It uses the same magazines as the polymer version of the M&P 2.0 line. These are 17 round magazines. The gun comes with 2 from the factory. Now, here's something that is a stark departure from the older M&P 2.0 polymer frames and this new style trigger. So this particular trigger, if you look at it, it looks a lot like the trigger that is on the Shield Plus, if you're familiar with the new Shield Plus. So gone are the hinge triggers of the older Smith & Wessons, and now we have a new, more flat face trigger with the trigger safety. Some people call it the dingus, whatever. It's the trigger safety, a la like a Glock or something like that. So as you can see, as I'm manipulating the trigger, if my finger is not on this particular part of the trigger, it doesn't move. And also, we also have like a nice little insert right here for your over travel. I'm going to say right off the bat, the triggers on this new trigger for the M&P 2.0 metal frame, and which is also in some of their newer polymer guns now, is a lot better in my opinion than the older hinge triggers. Not to say that the older hinge triggers were bad. This is just better. This is the point blank period. This is better. And so, all right, so let's take a look at some other features that we have. We have 3-dot white sights. These sights are metal. These are just standard 3-dot sights. The gun comes optics ready. This plate right here is polymer. And in case you were wondering, yes, this Smith & Wesson does give us optics mounting plates. So if you've seen my other reviews, you know just how much I like it when a manufacturer gives you optics mounting plates from the door. These plates feel like polymer plates. I believe that they are. They're not the metal ones. So just so you're aware, but at the very least, they do give you the optics mounting plates and they give you the screws for them. I see some Loctite on some of these screws, but that's another accessory that you get out of the box. Let's see what else we got. You got your front and rear slide serrations. You got Smith & Wesson's patented fish scales, so that way, you know, they make press checking very easy. You can rack the slide from either one, which I like. Also, this is your takedown lever. So this particular M&P disassembles pretty much like any other M&P that you've seen there, you know, from Smith & Wesson. But in case you're not familiar, it's simply this. You just run the slide back. Now, I'm not going to do the full disassembly because I want to stay on the right side of YouTube. But anyway, you just run the slide back and, you know, you rotate. Well, first, drop the magazine, of course. Make sure the gun is always clear and unloaded before you do any disassembly. But anyway, you lock the slide to the rear. You rotate this down. And actually, what you're supposed to do from this point, there is a tool here on the underside that you just rotate that and remove it. And you got this, and what you're supposed to do, there's a sear disconnect. I don't know if you can see it in here, but there's a sear disconnect that you're supposed to push in the down position just like that. I don't know if the camera can pick that up, but that's your sear disconnect. And when you do that, you just unlock the slide and the slide will slide right off the frame. It's that simple. So they put that in there to kind of negate the need from pulling the trigger to get the slide to come off the frame. You can do that still if you want. Sometimes I do it, if I'm honest, but you don't have to do that. But that's basically what they mean. That's the sear disconnect there. And also too, yeah, so that's basically that. Let's just go ahead and, because like I said, I'm not disassembling the gun, so I'm going to rotate that back up and let the slide go home. Just push the magazine up just to make sure that the sear disconnect is all the way back in its fully up, sorry about that, fully upright position. As you can see, this gun has no issues with ejecting the magazine. It just shot out of there without a problem, which is cool. Also about the back strap. So to change the back strap, you remove this particular tool and the back strap just basically comes right off from there. It's so easy. It's a shame. And then you just put that back, put the tool back into place, lock it in, and you're golden. Easy peasy, right? Okay, so let's look at this. You got your magazine release here, you know, standard magazine release. One of the things that I really love about the M&P 2.0 metal frame is the ergonomics of this grip. So now, granted, if you've seen my other reviews, you know how critical, I won't say critical, but one of my criticisms is that like a lot of manufacturers don't texture this area of the grip or even this area of the frame itself. As you can see on the M&P 2.0 metal frame, this is all pretty smooth, right? Now, here's the thing about that. The palm swell of this grip. So that's one thing about this gun that really made me fall in love with it, is the fact that it has a good palm swell. And if you notice, like if you look at the front of this grip, like you see how kind of thin it is in relation to the back of the grip, right? If you notice that, and you go and grab the gun, like you see how I can grab it with that. I don't know if you can really see it on the camera, but I can really get that good C crush grip, right? So that way I can really drive the gun into the meat of my hand, into the meat of my thumb and my palm, right? And the panels on the grip like really fills it out. So like I could get a solid grip on this gun. That was one of the biggest selling points to me with this. And as a matter of fact, at some point I plan on getting the competitive version of this gun, you know, because the competitive version of this particular gun has some upgrades and features that I really like, and particularly with the sighting system, and especially for like competitions and stuff like that. So I plan on getting that gun. I don't know if I'm going to do a review on it, but if for whatever reason you guys would like to see a review, just drop it in the comments. You know, I get enough comments, I definitely will make that happen for y'all. Like I said, I want to bring y'all some value. So like that's kind of the point to everything I do, to bring you guys some value. But anyway, like I said, the ergonomics of this gun is something that I absolutely love. And as far as all of the pistols that I own, this probably has the best ergonomics for my hands. That palm swell combined with this trigger just really make for great, accurate follow-up initial shots and follow-up shots. But speaking of the trigger, let me channel my inner grand thumb and ghost that trigger. All right, so I don't know if you can see this, but you got just a bit of take up, right? You just got a bit of take up like that. You hit the wall, you break, reset. Now watch this. That's it. That's the reset. That little bit of travel right there. Back, boom. And we come up. That's it. Now, one thing I will say about the trigger reset on the M&P 2.0 metal frame is that it's going to take some getting used to. Reason for that is, if you notice, it's audible, but it's really soft, and it actually feels soft. So that was kind of a learning curve for me when I first shot this gun, was that, you know, I had to get used to that trigger reset. And, you know, sometimes riding the reset can, you know, throw your shots off a little bit. But once you get the hang of it, you get familiar with it, and you're used to when it resets, you won't have any problems. And I mean, honestly, this firearm actually was a confidence booster for me, because it actually had me feeling like that I could compete with actual real professional shooters out there on the competition circuit. Like, I mean, this actually got me thinking about going into competition shooting and doing some of that. I'm not gonna lie to you, but suffice it to say, this is a very accurate gun, and the ergonomics really helps to it really helps you to do everything that you're supposed to do correctly, so that the gun can drop those accurate shots correctly, right? All right. So anyway, let me just talk a little bit about the specs of the gun right now. So basically, you have a 4.25-inch stainless steel barrel, right? And the gun is about 30 ounces unloaded, which is not that much heavier than the polymer version of the M&P 2.0. You know, it's not that much heavy. I think they're pretty close in weight, which is kind of interesting considering the fact that this is an all metal gun, right? You would think that it's heavy, but it's really not. Like it's I would say weight wise is pretty much average for a full size 9mm. I mean, you know, as simple as that. It's pretty average to me. And even though the recoil impulse is a bit different, it's not a whole lot different, you know, so, but it feels good in hand, you know, point blank period, it feels good. So, I mean, anyway, outside of that, you know, you got your I think I already went through this, you know, your ambidextrous, slide catch, slide release. You got your external extractor, which also does as your loaded, I'm sorry. Their little witness hole here, that's your loaded chamber indicator. I'm sorry. There's a little witness hole there so that you can see if the chamber is loaded. And that's pretty much it. So, all right, now that we've talked about the features and a little bit of the backstory of the M&P 2.0 metal frame, let's get into how this gun has handled for me on the range so far. All right, so full disclosure, I'm not exactly sure how many rounds I've put through the gun since I bought it last October 2022. If I had to guess, it would have to be somewhere between 900 and 1,000 rounds. And I say that because for the first couple months that I've had it, I've literally been going like back and forth to the range, like putting several hundred rounds through it every single visit, right? And I've ran a combination of different things. So I've ran some 124 grain CCI brazier brass, right? You know, just standard 124 grain full metal jackets. I've run some 124 and 115 grain full metal jacket Magtex, and I've also run some 124 grain, I believe 124 grain plus P Federal HSTs. I like to let me just say this real quick. Any handgun that I buy, especially something that may be considered as far as like a concealed carry or a duty gun or a home defense handgun, I always make sure I run some of my self-defense loads through the gun just to make sure that the guns like it. So I would advise and encourage you to do the same. Granted, I'm not saying that you should try to plink with them on the range because some of that stuff can get pretty expensive. I mean, you're talking $1 a shot depending on some of the things that you buy. So I'm not saying that you should do it every week, but at least if you're breaking in a new gun, highly recommend. And like I said, you know, you're breaking in a new gun, you ever plan on using that gun for concealed carry, home defense, duty use, whatever, I highly recommend that you run some self-defense loads. The actual loads that you're going to carry, run it through the gun and see if it likes it. Anyway, with that out of the way, I say all that to say I ran all those rounds through this M&P metal frame 2.0 and I haven't had any malfunctions whatsoever. Like, it just ate it all and it kept coming back asking for more. It's like, feed me more. I haven't had any issues with the gun, which is great. And it's not surprising to me because, I mean, Smith Wesson M&P line, they're very reliable. That's why they're used by law enforcement agencies and, you know, so on and so forth, because they know that this gun runs and it's going to run when you need it to run. And in my opinion, any firearm should be built to that standard. If a firearm is not going to run when you need it to run, then if I can't count on it, I don't want it. I don't care what it is. But again, that's just a me thing. So, but anyway, like I said, the gun has been very reliable for me. I don't anticipate any issues with it, you know, so just something that you should be aware. Reliability is, at least for the standard version. I haven't shot the competitor yet, so I can't speak on that. But for the standard 2.0 metal frame, reliability Has not been an issue at all. So anyway, I'm not going to ramble on too much longer. Like, we've covered like the basis, the specs, the features, how it handled for me on the range, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to wrap this video up with it right now and get into my closing thoughts. All right, y'all. In closing, let me just say this really quick. So I love the M&P 2.0 metal frame, right? Like I said, the ergonomics of this gun, to me, they're just outstanding. It has a really good trigger. It's not the best trigger I've ever felt, but it has a really good trigger. And, the gun just looks sexy. I mean, period. I love the tungsten gray. I love the way, the gray contrasts with the polymer and everything like that. The gun just looks sexy. The fish scale, serrations, all of it. I love it. I love it, right? And, let me just comment on the MSRP. So for about $900, now granted, you can find this gun for cheaper than that, depending on your area and where you look. So they're going to be, you're going to find some variation on the price, right? But again, for an MSRP of $900, is it worth it? So that's kind of an interesting question, right? Is it worth it? You already know I like the gun. I really enjoy the gun. Obviously, I had the gun. So for me, clearly it was worth it. I don't have an M&P polymer frame. I don't have an M&P 2.0 polymer frame. So for me to go and get the metal version, it's just kind of like, I'm paying for the upgrade right from the gate. So I don't really have the polymer version, even though I've shot it, I don't have it. So it's kind of like, it makes sense for me to just get into it right then and there. Now, if you have the polymer version and you want to upgrade to the metal version, the best answer that I could give for that is to try it out and see for yourself, right? And, and I say that because in a way, guns are kind of like clothes in a sense. So just hear me out for a second what I mean by that. So we're all built slightly different, right? There are certain things that will speak to me from an ergonomic standpoint that may very well not speak to you from an ergonomic standpoint. So, for example, that's why I always talk about ergonomics, and I try to convey to y'all, how certain things feel for me. Like I said, I have larger hands. So you may be a person who has larger hands, so you might be a little bit curious. But for me, like I said, the ergonomics of the metal version of the 2.0, they're just better than the polymer version. And I've held and shot both. So the metal frame is it just makes more sense for me. And, when you're talking about something like the grip and the trigger, you got to understand that's your interface with the gun. So if you're gripping a gun and it doesn't feel comfortable, or if you don't like, if it doesn't feel comfortable with you, you don't like it, you're not going to train with it and you're not going to use it. And at that point, it's really a waste of money. Point blank, period. So this is why I say definitely try one out if you're curious to see the difference between the two. So that way you can make your own decision. But me personally, is it worth it? It's worth it for me. I'm just going to put it out there. It's worth it for me. And like I said, because for one, I didn't have an M&P full size, M&P 2.0 full size before getting the metal frame. And I just love the look and the feel of the metal frame. If I had the polymer version, would I buy the metal frame now that I've experienced it? Yes, I would. I absolutely would, because like I said, for all the reasons that I've stated before, like the ergonomics, the trigger, and so on and so forth. Not only that, plus the look, and it works as good as the polymer one. That to me, that upgrade makes sense in my opinion. But again, definitely do your research, try it out, so that way you can make your own decisions. Like I said, these videos are just a guide, just kind of give you some ideas and different things to look at when you're making your purchasing decisions. So that being said, get out there, try it out, and let me know what you think. Holla at your big homie. Let me know what you think. Get down in them comments. Let's talk about it. If you have an M&P 2.0 metal frame, or if you're thinking about getting one, maybe you saw a different review and you decided to get it yourself and you loved it, or maybe you saw a different review and you got it for yourself and you hate it. Whatever the case may be, hop in those comments. Let's get this discussion popping, y'all. If you like the video, please let me know. Hit that like button. hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so that way you can get updated whenever I upload new content. I do my best to upload content every week, so definitely stay tuned. I got some more things in store for y'all. But again, I'm going to let y'all go. As always, thank you for watching. Thank you for coming through. Thank you for subscribing. You know, I really appreciate it. Again, I hope I'm bringing y'all some value, and I hope you enjoyed the video. So this is the Armchair Operator signing off.